Greetings, everybody. I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. And today, we're going back to the Terminator franchise. If you may recall, back in 2015, I did a blog of Terminator Genisys. And I still think it's a good movie in my opinion, due to Arnold Schwarzenegger's return to the franchise after years of being California's governor. But as the years rolled around, I've been hearing word that many folks didn't like the movie because critics thought that the story and the performances were unsatisfying. But on the bright side, Genisys did become the second highest grossing film of the Terminator franchise and of Arnold Schwarzenegger's career. Also, I can't believe it's been about 10 years since I became an Eagle Scout, and one of the people who wrote to me was Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. And also, while the Terminator 3D show was taken over by Gru's minions in California, I heard that the Floridian version was closed down 2 Octobers ago. But just last weekend, I saw the newest addition to the Terminator franchise. But question is it any good? Well, let's find out. Released on November 1st, 2019, the movie is Terminator Dark Fate. Now let's get started. In Mexico City, a newly modified liquid Terminator known as the Rev 9 model arrives from the future to kill a young factory worker named Danny Ramos. Also sent back in time is Grace, a hybrid cyborg human who must protect Ramos from the seemingly indestructible robotic assassin. But the two women soon find some needed help from a pair of unexpected allies, seasoned warrior Sarah Connor and the T-800 Terminator, also known as Carl. So, what do I think? Well, I thought this movie was a really thrilling film, and it was a vast improvement over Genisys. But, unfortunately, the movie became a box office bomb on its opening weekend. But let's move on to Mustang notes. By December 2013, Skydance Productions was planning for Terminator Genisys to be the start of a new trilogy of films. The Genisys sequels were scheduled for release on May 19, 2017 and June 29, 2018. But development of the planned trilogy was stalled after the film's disappointment at the box office. According to Dana Goldberg, despite Genisys' disappointing domestic performance, the company was happy with its worldwide numbers and still intended to make new films. Production of a sequel would begin no earlier than 2016 because the company planned market research to determine its direction after Genisys, and so the Genisys sequels were ultimately canceled. David Ellison felt that Terminator Genisys could have been better, so he recruited franchise creator James Cameron to produce the subsequent film with him in hopes of creating a better film. Cameron was intrigued by Ellison's proposal to make the film a direct sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, ignoring the events of Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genisys. Other filmmakers on the project had suggested making the film without Schwarzenegger, but luckily, Cameron disliked the idea as he and Schwarzenegger were close friends. Cameron agreed to produce the film on the condition that Schwarzenegger would be involved with it. As producer, Cameron was involved in pre-production and script work while Tim Miller was hired as director. Filming for Terminator Dark Fate took place from June to November 2018 in Hungary, Spain, and in the United States. Now, what I like about this movie are most of the action, fight, and chase sequences, even if they can sometimes be a bit violent. And I like that this movie takes place in 2020, which happens to be next year. And I like that this film is ignoring the events of Rise of Machines, Salvation, and Genesis. Kind of similar to last year's Halloween movie, which was ignoring the events of Halloween 2 through Halloween Resurrection. Plus, for an R-rated movie, it doesn't have too many extreme scenes, aside from a few medical scenes and a couple characters travel through time without clothes. Also, there are some moments that can be pretty humorous, and I think the scenes in the future are very dark. And I think what this movie did during the opening studio logos was very clever. Anyway, that's all I have for Mustang notes, so let's move on to the cast. Let's start with Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton, who played Sarah in the first two Terminator films. And she got to be in Dante's Peak and the terrible King Kong Lives. Sarah is the mother of John Connor, the former future leader of the human resistance in the war against Skynet. Now as a battle-hardened older woman and left alone after her son's death, Sarah hunts and kills Terminators to prevent Judgment Day and forestall the coming conflict. Due to her previous encounters with the machines, she is at odds with Carl and Grace, being responsible for altering the future, and after learning of Danny's destiny, leading a new resistance against Skynet's successor, known as Legion, she prepares as she did with John. In my opinion, this version of Sarah is really hardcore, especially with the way she fights the Terminators. Plus, like Sigourney Weaver in Avatar, Sarah has some of the funniest lines ever. Next we come to Arnold Schwarzenegger, playing Terminator T-800 Model 101, aka Carl, who, as Terminator fans know, is an aging Terminator built by Skynet, and one of several sent back in time to kill John Connor. Having completed its mission, it gained, autonomy from its original programming, and he integrated into human society, moving to Laredo, Texas, marrying a human and raising a stepson. He later joins forces with Sarah and Grace to help protect Danny Ramos from Legion's Terminators. Though Sarah remains hating Carl for her son's death, Grace and Danny respect and trust the old machine after learning its efforts to make amends to Sarah, and particularly close to Danny. In my eyes, Arnold has not lost his touch as this character, and I think he's a great ally in this movie. Next we have Grace, played by Mackenzie Davis. Grace is a soldier from the year 2042, taken in by Resistance Commander Danny Ramos. Grace was converted into a cyborg after a security detail for the critically wounded commander with her unit, and she was sent by Danny to protect her younger self from Legion's new advanced Terminator prototype. She then learns from the initial timeline after meeting Sarah Connor and Skynet's surviving T-800 unit, Carl. She and Sarah share a mutual distrust due in part because the latter sees her as a novice. Despite knowing that Carl is a Terminator and what he did to Sarah's son, she trusts him as a comrade and as a friend, mainly because of her fascination with his behavioral developments and awareness that he is not one of Legion's machines. In my eyes, Grace is equally as awesome as Sarah, and for some reason, she kind of reminds me of a character from the Mad Max movies, mainly due to her fighting techniques. Our main character, Daniela Ramos, aka Danny, is played by Natalia Reyes. Danny is a young woman targeted for termination by the new advanced Terminator prototype Rev 9. Danny was initially believed by Sarah Connor to be the destined mother of the Resistance leader. It is revealed later that Danny is fated to succeed Sarah's deceased son, John Connor, as the founding commander of the Resistance in the war against Legion and lead them to victory, with Sarah as her mentor. The Resistance commander, having survived the events that her younger self is going through, has foreknowledge that Grace would meet Sarah and instructs her to seek Skynet's T-800 for aids by tattooing its location coordinates on her tummy. Finally, we come to the villainous Terminator, Rev 9, played by Gabriel Luna, who has been in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. Rev 9 is an advanced Terminator prototype that originated from Legion and was sent back in time to terminate Danny. While this character has a traditional solid exoskeleton, Rev 9 also possesses the ability to separate into two fully autonomous Terminator units. In addition, the Rev 9 has the ability to exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to a human, such as emotions, outclassing most of Skynet's Terminators in infiltration, and while behaving sociopathically. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Terminator Dark Fate was a really thrilling film, and it was a vast improvement over Genesis. The action is hardcore, but sometimes intense. The main characters are interesting and badass. The villain, Rev 9, is an unstoppable Terminator, and I think Arnold hasn't lost his touch. And I'm still happy that Arnold sent me this note when he was in the California governor office. Also, there were some parts that can be dark and thought-provoking too. But if you folks are Terminator fans or Arnold Schwarzenegger fans, then by all means go see this film. Trust me, it's a really thrilling ride. I give this movie an 88% out of 100. Well, that's all for now, viewers. I'll be back for my next episode, where we return to the Kingdom of Avalor. Mustang Power.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger.